It is financial trauma. That and other big ones that impact women is when women don't have access to money, and that because of control. So somebody who's making the money is in charge of the money, and so they don't have access to that. They might get like a debit card that has just enough money for groceries for the week, and that's all they get. And so that becomes traumatic. I've had women hiding money in. I had one. She was hiding it in a hairbrush. I was like, that was a unique place for her to put it. But she knew that her husband would never find it there, so that she would just have it, because otherwise there was nothing. And that became then a bigger part. They're the same women that would stuff money in mattresses or pillowcases.
Welcome to Real Money, Real Life, the podcast where we get real about money and the messy human stuff that comes with it. I'm Linda Grizzly, financial educator and your Me Money guide to financial clarity. Each week, we dive into financial concepts and money strategies, but we always tie it back to real life, emotions, mindset, and how money actually shows up day to day. If you're ready for practical tools, mindset shifts, and honest conversations that meet you where you are, not where the world thinks you should be, you're in the right place. Because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you use it. No judgment, no lectures, no lingo, and definitely no putting yourself last. Welcome to the Real Money, Real Life podcast, where we get real about money and the messy human stuff that comes with it. I'm Linda Grizzly. If you're here, you're one of the real ones, the ones doing the work, even when it's messy. And I'm so glad you made space for this today. Today's episode is all about the emotional roots of money behavior, how our past experiences, trauma, and personality patterns shape the way we interact with money today. We'll talk about how understanding your money archetype and story can unlock everything, from better financial decisions to deeper personal peace. This conversation is for every woman who's ever felt stuck, ashamed, or overwhelmed by her money patterns and wants to feel more in control and in alignment. Today's guest is Kate Juozaitis, licensed therapist turned transformational coach, serial entrepreneur, and purpose-driven fire starter. After 20 years in the mental health field helping women untangle the deepest parts of their relationships, identity, and trauma, Kate realized something powerful. Success without purpose still feels empty. And burnout in high-achieving women isn't a personal failure, it's a system failure. So she did what she teaches others to do, pivoted with clarity and power. She built Lift As You Climb coaching to help women who look like they have it all, but secretly feel stuck, lost, or like they're performing instead of living. Her work combines neuroscience, purpose coaching, money mindset mastery, and real-life strategy to help women build businesses, redefine success, and stop waiting for permission to thrive. She's not just coaching from a textbook, she's lived it. From running a successful private practice to navigating relationships, career shifts, and entrepreneurship, Kate brings humor, directness, and fire to every conversation. Her mission is clear: to help women live and lead on purpose in their work, their relationships, and their bank accounts so that they experience fulfillment on as many levels as possible. Her why is simply that she wants everyone to win. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kate. And
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. We've known each other for quite a few years now, and we have so many things in common in our mission and in our lives. And I think that your experience in therapy and coaching and my experience in the financial field and coaching is going to make for a great conversation today.
I'm excited.
Great. So I want to start out with you working for 20 years as a therapist and now as a transformational coach. Tell us a little bit about your journey, your story about how you got here.
The how. You know what? I think it's just opportunity. It's I've known my purpose literally forever, because I've taken lots of hard roads, going from being a firefighter and a paramedic, and transitioning. Anytime somebody told me no or I hit a wall, it was the do or die moment. So I dug into my grit and shifted. I'm a intuitive person. So when it doesn't feel right, I just know that it's time to make a change. So things that I had planned out for myself in life just genuinely weren't meant for me. And I learned to just flow.
Yeah, it's very similar to my story,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that one of the things that I see with all the versions of yourself, the firefighter, the therapist, the coach, it's all about helping other people. And I love that because
Always.
that's part of my journey and my story too, and all the transformations that I made. So I love that. So now you said in your intro, it said success without purpose still feels empty. So tell me about how you finally came to that realization.
Just, well, being a therapist and listening to so many people, and I've worked with lots of people in charge, leadership people, and they all chase the same thing. They're either chasing money or they're chasing titles. And even when they get them, it's kind of meh. And it's when it is not in alignment to who you are and what you're really put here. We're all given that imprint of like what we're here to do, and that is our greater impact and our legacy that we leave behind. It's not going to be our bank account, though somebody will like that. It's not going to be the titles that you wore along the way. That's just supposed to be an iteration of your purpose. So there are lots of people who are like, why doesn't this feel the way I expected it to feel? And so when we're not living our purpose specifically, it doesn't matter. You can be the president, the CEO. I mean, I am. And I was like, so what? But it's when I'm really living in what is my natural advantage and utilizing my skill sets to the best of my ability to help and serve other people. That's when I feel fulfilled. It's not those victories that I think are going to do it along the way.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I think that there's a lot of things that have to go into you actually realizing that and really getting in touch with your internal feelings to be like, hey, what is really up here? Why am I not feeling connected? Why do I feel empty?
Yeah, what am I really here to do? Because it's not bank accounts and it's not job titles. That's not
Yeah.
what we're really here to do. That's the society's pressure, but our internal one is not that.
Yeah. And so what made you connect the dots between trauma, identity, and money?
So being a practice owner with therapists and being in a lot of networks, it's and I've been doing it for over 13 years and listening to new practice owners and sometimes old practice owners and their inability to really connect their own, why they're not growing their practices, why they don't feel successful in their practices, the things that are missing, the added stressors, and being able to take a giant step back and be like, well, okay, there's more to this. And as clinicians, I mean, we're taught to hold everybody else's trauma and everybody else's space, and we very rarely look at our own. And although I will say, I'm like, good therapists have therapists, and they should, but we have to be able to look at that reflection ourselves. So I saw that in my own population, and I could see the reasons why they weren't able. They were making decisions and choices out of trauma, or out of pressure, as opposed to understanding themselves further. When you have childhood trauma around money, and we all likely do. Our grandparents definitely did because they survived the largest trauma, the Great Depression. Most of us survived at least, well, at least two, maybe no, one, maybe two recessions. I had like think about it. It was like, wait, how many did I go through? I went through the 80s of the recession, and then the 2000s recession, and I mean, okay, so let's round it up and do three because we're going into another. But if we don't look at like how those things affected us and then shifted how we move in this world. You don't know how to survive it again, or more importantly, thrive.
Yeah. And along with that, talking about what you grew up with and everything, I talk about your money story and your money personality. And I think that you mentioned money archetypes. So an archetype is the definition of it's like a typical example of a certain person, right? Or a thing. Like
Yes.
it's kind of like the way something is. And I think that the money personalities that I talk about are actually money archetypes. They might not be called the same name or the same thing. But tell me more about how you work with money archetypes, what they are, and how that helps you understand the way you live with money.
I'm curious because how many do you have?
So in my practice, I have five. I have the saver, the spender, the avoider, the risk taker, and the security seeker. I keep it pretty simple with those
Mhm.
five. I don't claim to have created them or anything. You know, there's so many different names out there for them. If you Google it, there's a bunch of different ones. But when I identify someone's money personality, I keep it to those five, and then I help them understand that. So go ahead and contrast and compare with what you've got.
Well, they're very similar because I have the maker, I have the spender, I have the saver, I have the avoider, and then what you're really looking for is the balance of the top three, and we kick the avoider to the curb where they belong, because you want a little bit of the maker, the saver, and the spender. But you want them to be cohesive and with some balance and probably some boundaries too. But oftentimes people don't recognize that, like, the trauma that goes into making you each one of these specifically, and you can flex between them periodically in life as well, but the goal is to be the three in cohesion.
So tell me more about that. You have a goal to be the three in cohesion. How does that work?
The cohesion, so you should represent an equal proportion of maker, spender, and saver, but being wise-minded about it. And that's like a psychological term. Like, we don't want things to be in huge shifts like this. You want them in shifts more like this. And that's what creates wise mind between our emotional self and our intellectual self.
Yeah.
That they talk to each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
like my hand puppets.
Yeah, I love it. And it's similar to what I do in the sense I don't name it that or call it that. But I start putting purpose and intention to things so that it's framed differently for them, which actually is balancing them out. But I don't tell them that I'm balancing them out. I just say, like, we're going to frame this, and that there's no wrong money personality. We just have to figure out how to work with yours. But it's basically the same thing. So
Mhm.
I'm loving hearing it from another perspective. So this is great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and now that brings up the idea of seeing ourselves in multiple types or switching between them. And I want to talk more about that, but I want to first say that I have two very distinct ones. One for my personal life and one for my business life, and they are like on opposite ends. So,
Interesting.
yeah. So in mine, I am a saver in my personal life, but yet I am a risk taker in my business life, where I'm like, I have no problem spending money in my business and signing up for the next thing or paying for this or paying for that. And I actually need to reel myself in. Whereas in my personal life, I'm the one who's like, no, we need to save. I can't do that. But I'm getting better with that with my whole me money method I'm using. I'm using it on myself. I'm getting much better. But I'd love to hear more about how other people have multiple types and how you switch between them.
That's so I'm so I have, and that's that balance actually kind of works out because I'm the same way. I will invest, and it's how I word it. I will invest in my business, and it seems like I can invest so much. I do have a more difficult time investing in myself, and that's a part of my personal trauma. That even my childhood, that just there was never any money to invest in me in the things that would have been able to bring me joy or happiness as a child. And so I do have that internal, what's the word I want? I have that internal conflict of, am I worth it? And that mindset is what triggers that trauma response. Like, am I worth it? Now I actually have to ask myself that question out loud. Am I worth it? The answer is yes. Am I enough as I am? Yes. And also, I can invest in this as well for me because I deserve joy and happiness. And the irony is, my middle name is actually Joy. So I have to remind myself that's a nice little thing to like add in. But so I'm a maker. And that's built into like my serial entrepreneurship and like my willingness to just jump into things and be like, I can make that happen. Um, because I will always see the outcome. I will always see, yes, I am able to provide for myself, and being in lots of positions throughout life where I've had to. Not that I chose to, but I've been backed into that corner where a maker just became the inertia that kept me going. So in that, I'm an overachiever. I'm high stress. I mean, meet me. I'm high stress. One of my coaches yesterday told me, she's like, I think you're actually addicted to stress. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to put it. No. Um, I had to fight with her a little bit on it, but I mean, I'm accustomed to it now, which is also not something you want, because it makes it harder for the body then to relax. If the body can't relax, I can't have this equilibrium that I also want as well,
Yeah,
because I'm constantly fighting with myself.
makes complete sense, and I can absolutely relate to that. And it's funny because the more conversations I have with people, the more I uncover about my own story, right? So sitting here
Mm-hmm.
listening to you talk about when you were younger and how now and as you're older, which is the stuff I uncover when I talk to people about their money stories all the time. But I'm sitting there listening to you talk about like taking care of yourself and your childhood. And I haven't really thought about that in that sense, even though that's the actual work I do with people all the time with their money. And like I had some aha moments in my head while you were talking about things that I do, because I think we are so similar in that sense. Like for me to take time for myself. Like yesterday I've been working like long days and just sitting at my desk, and it's summer. And yesterday I was at a point where I was like, I just need to get away. I just need to get away from my desk and get outside. So you know what I did? I went grocery shopping. That was my break
One
because
more
I wanted to
thing.
get away from my desk and go outside. So my going outside was walking to and from my car to go grocery shopping. And that was what I allowed myself to do. Like,
Yep.
that is not healthy.
No, I'm 100%. I rinse and repeat that all the time. I'll sit there at the desk for 12 hours. And my fiance last night came home at 11 o'clock from work, and he walked in. He goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Yes." He goes, "Go to bed." I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. He's like, "You've got a podcast in the morning."
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think one of the biggest things that I want to say about that is like just talking about things and having conversations with people can help you
Mhm.
uncover whatever that is, whatever that story is that you're telling yourself, whatever that mindset is. And you talked about being an overachiever too. And what the
Oh, yeah.
quote that I have in the book that I'm in, Lessons from Thought Leaders, is actually, even an overachiever can only achieve to the level of their mindset.
True.
And I was an overachiever for a very long time, but my mindset wasn't there. So it didn't matter what I did and how much I did, because I was just constantly like doing instead of really thinking and getting the internal work.
Sometimes we do it. So, and it's part of the understanding as like makers is like, we're doing it not not to meet the goal, we're doing it to prove somebody else wrong. And when you make
Ah,
that connection, like, it's not the, because I'm a doer too. And it took me a long time to realize, like, I was do, go, 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 again, the stress level. But it wasn't to go to someplace, it was to prove somebody else wrong. And that's always been the drive. I was always told, you're never going to amount to anything. You're not going to become anything. the who the hell do you think you are was the messages I got, which that became that internal dialogue driving me to be this maker, to prove everybody wrong. And I didn't need to prove any of them wrong. I needed to prove things to me. And that part took a long time for me to recognize. And it's what I've seen even in my own profession. I see a lot of people doing that. And it's like, okay, if I can help it, let me take that weight from you. If I can take that trauma from you and I hold that, what now can you do? And that's what I see in lots of leadership. Is like, okay, give me that, because you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It was I had a therapist, my own, who did that for me. She was like, if I take that from you, what would happen? And it's when I started to expand my business, and I was like, holy shit, like that's all it took. Somebody to just take that weight from me. And it wasn't mine to begin with.
Okay,
Now
so
I get
tell
really deep.
yeah, no, I want to dig into this a little bit. So tell me more about, because the maker isn't one of the ones that I identify. So tell me more
But you
about,
are.
well, I'm saying that I identify in my practice with, because I talk just about the money part, which mine is really focused on the money part, not
Mhm.
necessarily on the other thing. So I say I'm a maker based on what you're telling me, but I want to hear more about what a maker is. And then, how you allowed your therapist or whoever it was, your coach, that to take that from you. Tell me more about all of that.
It was, so makers are fueled by making the money, right? And it's the chase. It's really that. And again, like mine shows up in stress of the chase, um, but never really being very clear and understanding that the internal dialogue, which was my inner child, and they're who showed up. They were resilient, and they had a I'll prove you wrong mentality. It's what makes me incredibly competitive. I didn't realize that that's what it was. I labeled it, I'm just being me. I'm not competing with you. And I never did. I never saw myself as competing against somebody else. I was always competing against that inner version of myself. And I just never heard her. And so it was a clinician. She was incredible. She really was. I love her. And she was just like, that's who you're. And she made me bring in a picture of myself and look at myself. She was like, that's who you're fighting. Talk about a breakthrough.
Yeah, definitely.
Because she was, I mean, little Kate's very cute.
Well, so is I don't want to say big. So is adult Kate. So is adult. I don't want to say big. No woman ever wants to be called big. So is adult Kate very cute. But okay, so let's take that and let's move on to talking about like past experiences and how they shape us today. So because this is a great segue, because we're already really talking about that, but let's talk about that a little bit more. So
Mhm.
we talked about how you felt like you were treated as a child, where you were always told that you weren't going to amount to anything, so then you were striving to prove everybody wrong. What are some
Yes.
other things that people do? Because not everybody has that same experience. So what other themes do you see?
So like savers were always told that there's not enough, right? We can't afford that. We have no money, and they'll internalize that, they digest it, and really also they will do sweeps of like, wait, there's not enough, and then it's for me, because they'll make the connections in their life, like, wait, but you can afford that, but a toy for me at the dollar store, like we don't have money for that. Or um, vacations, that's a big one for kids when they're told that they can't go on vacations. Well, we don't have money for that. Or they minimize the things that are important or valuable to them. Some outside source says, well, you can't, that that's not that important. And it could be the most important thing to you. And rather than being told how you could get to that, they're just immediately shut down. And that becomes just a deep rooted trauma of the or we don't have money for that because bills have to be paid. That's always a big one. Bills have to be paid. And so now there's a fear around bills. And then, well, what happens? Or home insecurity. That's that's probably the most impactful, is if a child or young adult experiences home insecurity, right? Like, we don't know where we're going to live next. I've actually had people in therapy like that, like every so many months were moved somewhere else because they were being evicted or something. They couldn't pay the bills, so they had to run. And so they learned then, kind of like, it's a hoarding type mentality and behavior. I have to be secure, so I have to hold on to everything. And they could have, and I mean, culturally, I have some people, like, I have an old patient. She has like $1 million, and it's not enough. It's not enough for her to take a step back and like spend something on yourself. And that was like part of her own work. She was doing jobs she really hated. She really hated, but because they paid her well, she stayed, and it created such turmoil for her internally.
So that turmoil that she experienced, is that a financial trauma? Or tell me more about what financial trauma is.
It is financial trauma. That and like other big ones that impact women is when women don't have access to money, um, and that because of control. So somebody who's making the money is in charge of the money, and so they don't have access to that. They might get like a debit card that has just enough money for groceries for the week, and that's all they get. And so that becomes traumatic. I've had women hiding money in. I had one. She was hiding it in a hairbrush. I was like, that was a unique place for her to put it. But she knew that her husband would never find it there, so that she would just have it, because otherwise there was nothing. And that became then a bigger part. They're the same women that would stuff money in mattresses or pillowcases.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of stories like that. I think that it's more common than we think that women have their secret stash of money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that it's it's just a way for us. Sometimes it's a way for us to have to prepare to escape. Other times
Yes.
it's just a way for us to know that we have something for our self-care if we need it. There's different levels of it, but I do think that it's very common. It's probably more common than we think.
Oh yeah. And again, because people tell me everything, I do hear it the so much. And it's not that they don't love their husband. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's they don't really know what love is and how then that plays a role. What they watched or witnessed their own parents go through, and they're just hell bent on the I will never be in that position myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is scary. That all of that's just a scary place to live.
And so what do you tell people who are in that place when they're hiding money in a hairbrush? I mean, I feel like you need to say to them, that's a sign that something's really wrong here. If you're putting your money in your hairbrush, like how do you go about that?
I mean, I don't pussyfoot around anything. So it's the can we just unpack that? Like, let's talk about what that really means to you and for you. Like, how did you get here? Why
Yeah.
are you here? And you need somebody to hold that. I mean, these are all your secrets. So let's put them all out on the table and then go, okay. And sometimes I just make them all write them out. Like, okay, what do you want to do with this? because something you're saying and everything you're doing don't align. And that becomes really important. That alignment of who you want yourself to be and who you allow yourself to be are very different.
Yeah.
And you have to choose. And that's usually the hardest part, is telling people you have to choose. And it's okay to choose you. And just like my therapist did for me, like, it was okay for me to choose me. I didn't realize I was choosing everybody else. I literally didn't realize it. Like, even
Yeah.
when I would spend money on other people, and I never realized it was, I was trying to get people to notice me. And that came from just being so unseen for so long.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that I like to bring into the conversation are the mindset blocks. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say, for instance, that someone came to you for a quick consultation to see if they wanted to work with you. What would be the blocks, like the internal limiting beliefs or whatever that they would have, where they would be hesitating to come and work with you?
Oh, they all say the same thing. I don't have any money. I can't afford it. Like, and immediately it's, can you afford not to? I mean, you keep doing this path to yourself, and like, let's roll out the numbers on the damage then, right? And nobody likes that, because then it's like, whoa, that's gross.
Yeah.
Um, or how long can you continue to tell yourself I'm not enough? And it's totally fine. I mean, you can. You absolutely can. You could probably do it until the day you take your very last breath. You can absolutely say, I am not enough. And then what? Right? Because the other part is that then becomes your legacy. And that's the part I think more people are more willing to sit in. Like, wait, that becomes my legacy. Did I do everything that I was really put here on earth to do? And that's when confronted with that mortality in thought, because I mean, 80% of people die believing that they have no idea what they were here to do. And that is their biggest fear on their deathbed, is like, did I do enough? Did I impact enough? Did I love enough? And if they can't answer that, then that's really, really hard. And I've watched people suffer in those thoughts on literally on their deathbed.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty deep, because I think that we all do sometimes wonder why we're here
Mhm.
and what we're meant to do and what we're meant to to bring to the world, right? Why are we here? And the idea that that's what they're thinking about on their deathbed is very, you know, impactful in itself.
Yeah. It's why I do the purpose factor coaching, because that, it really, it's a roadmap of, this is exactly who you are, what you're here to do, your best skill sets, and how to use them. I wasn't, when I read mine, I wasn't surprised by mine at all. And then looking at everything that I have literally chosen in my life, I was like, yes, it all makes sense. So then making the next hard choice, and in my case, like moving into something else, it was like, well, yeah, it's it's what I'm supposed to do. And it's so much easier to just step into that going, this is who I am. And anybody who wants to come up against that, I mean, I'll fight you. I'll fight you now, because I'm not going to move from that place to try and make you happy. I stepped out of that a long time ago. I am here to do that, and as long as I am making an impact in other people's lives with the things that I have to say, because I'm a messenger. I'm a recruiter, so I'll get behind you all the way. I'll be your cheerleader and run you all the way to the finish line. That is who I am. And if you've met me, it makes sense. Um, but my message has been that's the vehicle in which I do it. And that makes sense. I'm also a hurt healer because I can talk about this has been my journey, and while it is painful, I've learned so much from it. And if I can help shorten those gaps for you, I'm here. And I'm all in. I have grit for days, and that's scary. That's scary, but it's also very energizing and empowering for me too.
Yeah. So tell me more about the purpose factor, because that's what you base your coaching practice around, right?
Yes.
Tell us more about
Yes.
that.
So the purpose factor is it's an assessment, and it's short and sweet. You're answering questions about who you are, like right here, right now, today, and it really does create it. It's 40. I mean, here, it's sitting right here in front of me. This is mine. I'm most fulfilled tapping into perseverance. Shocking. To effectively communicate and inspire. That's the short version of mine, but it gives you four distinct categories: your natural advantage, your pull passion, your acquired skills, and then your origin strength. And those four factors then give you your core values. And again, like it just gives you the bumper cars that you need in life. And when you reflect back on that and who you are and know your shortcomings, but also know how you show up as a leader, it's that much easier to go, yeah, that's me, unapologetically. And that's really what I want everybody to be. Just be unapologetically you. You don't have to be lost. Like everything that you need, it really is already inside of you. So just use that. Don't worry about whatever everybody else is doing.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so tell me who are the people that you work with? Who needs to come and find you?
Everybody. And that, I mean, but that is true. I would say that the people I want to work with the most are the most lost. And I have found that the current state, those that are the most lost are usually those going through the biggest transitions. So that would be losing a spouse. That would be a huge transition. Retirement. I have a lot of those people because again, they've been taught and believe, especially if they're at retirement age, all they are is a job title or what they have done, and they don't know then. And it's I will always go back to my first responders because I love them. But they are the most at risk, right? First responders, all they do is eat, sleep, breathe the people that they're with. They are the job title, they are the heroes. And so when they leave that, they're the most at risk for suicide, and or drug and alcohol abuse because they don't know how to transition. They don't know how to transition their purpose that they've been in into something else. And so like those are people I want to work with. And then anybody who's going through a divorce. The divorced people feel incredibly lost, and it is a do or die kind of moment for them. They are all backed into a corner, and it doesn't matter who files.
Yeah. Great. And then where can they find you?
Oh, right here. um, so where can they find me? I mean, they can find my websites. I have two, so I'm on both. So claytherapeuticservices.com and liftasuclimbcoaching.com. I'm merging them into one, and I'm going to stop doing the therapeutic part, and I'm just going to be doing the coaching. So I'm in transition even as I speak, but I'm iterating into the next version of myself, doing the same things with the same skills, just in a different way.
I love it. Yep. It's always always growing, always learning, always moving on to that better version of you. I love that. All right.
Yeah,
So is there anything else you want to share? Any resources or next steps for anyone? Or just go to the
um,
websites?
they can just, they can email me directly at liftasuclimbcoaching@gmail.com.
Great. Okay, one last thing. What is the one thing you want women to remember about money and power?
The one thing I want women to remember about money and power.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a hard one to answer.
What would you tell yourself?
Oh, I've told myself the same thing. If you really do what you love, money will always come.
Well, there you
And
go.
honestly, if you do what you love, it's easiest to do, but money will always be there.
I love it. Thanks so much for joining me today, Kate.
Thank you. This was great. So is Kate.
Thanks so much for listening to Real Money, Real Life. Want to see what's blocking you from financial confidence or discover your money personality? Head to the resources page at lindagriz.com for our free quizzes. That's LINDAGRIZ.com/resources. If you're loving what you're learning, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'm your Me Money Guide to Financial Clarity, Linda Grizzly, and I'll catch you next time as we talk more real money, real life, because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you spend it. The content shared here is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial, tax, legal, or planning advice and does not constitute therapy or mental health counseling. Please consult an actively licensed and qualified professional for advice or help specific to your situation.